Despite seeing fantastic growth in a lot of our youngsters, our top scorers only having 12 goals across the season is rather worrying. And at this point, I'm still unsure whether it's the system or the players. However, the board have set a transfer budget for the next season at 16 million. Just like last season, I've also asked the board if I can have more scouts and improve the youth network and training facilities. The scouts that I do have continue to find fantastic players for me all across Europe though, and the rest of the world. So I've got to work adding some of my favourite talents to my shortlist, including some new gens as well. The board have accepted our request for more scouts and gave us 2 more. Our facilities have actually been downgraded due to technological advances, but thankfully the board have agreed to improve the youth recruitment and planned new training facility complex to go ahead. Brian have put in an offer for Sertemir. However, I think we can get a little bit more out of them, and we pushed them up, and considering we only paid £2.3 million for him, profit is profit. Complications though, as he did have a work permit rejected originally. Still a bit of a work in progress with the tactic. I'm going to try this shape for the start of the season and see how it plays out. Losing that centre midfield spot has allowed me to try and sell Antonio Sanchez, and Genoa have made a good bid, as well as Sertemir has a work permit and is now sold. Newcastle have put in a bid for our goalkeeper Rajkovic. However, I cannot find any decent replacements right now, so I'm going to really make them pay for it, and they aren't prepared to go that high. But this infuriated Rajkovic, and he is just up for leaving at the end of his contract, which runs out the end of this season. I just really don't think the 19-year-old Nigerian goalkeeper is quite ready for first team football yet. With a new scout coming in though, I've set up a recruitment focus to look out for first team players. This is players who my scouts rate as at least 3-star, which is roughly what my starting position in my lineup would be. And I've got a new scout, Flavio Costa, who is absolutely exceptional and has 20 adaptability on that task. We also had 2 scouts poached from us, so hiring in a couple of more meant that we can add a new recruitment focus focusing in on Asia. We haven't got anybody there yet, so I'm going to send a few scouts out there to have a look at Japan and South Korea. And almost immediately, these scouts were finding some incredible talents. One of the first transfers that I decided to try and make though was Dominik Babic, who is a striker, a Croatian 18-year-old from Osijek. They didn't want too much money, but eventually I managed to get them down just below £4 million with add-ons. Another player that kept showing up in my scout reports was Junior Krupi, who is a fantastic centre attacking midfielder or striker, and I'm very interested in trying to bring him in. Unfortunately though, Lorient are playing hard to get, and I might have to go up to £10 million. The scouts that I sent to Asia found an insane Japanese 16-year-old right back by Satoshi Kawasaki. Unfortunately for me though, as great as he looks, speaking to his agent, he has no interest in signing for Mallorca right now. A positive though is that our Krupi bid was accepted. Despite other clubs having bids rejected, we can offer him a new contract. I'm happy to give him what he wants, just as long as he makes that minimum fee release clause a much higher fee. But we've got to find ourselves a new goalkeeper, as we've just accepted a bid for Rajkovic for up to £13.5 million from Watford. And annoyingly, the obvious target in Dennis Seaman has just joined Leverkusen literally days before. But then Rajkovic rejected Watford. So I've begun to scout for a new goalkeeper just in case. However, I can't find one that actually wants to join me right now. Someone who has decided to join us though is Junior Krupi. He turns down a number of different clubs to join Mallorca because he believes in the Youth to Go project. But that transfer still leaves us with about £16 million in the bank. Atalanta this time are taking a bid at our goalkeeper Rajkovic, but I'm being very strict and I'm not letting him go for anything less than 15 million. We got some smart business done by selling Hugo Baracina to Juventus just after getting him on a free transfer the season before for £2.5 million. But already it's that time for the first game of the season, and we've got Girona away from home, and unfortunately we've got some injuries and suspensions. However, we powered through and started very well, with Prestiani setting up Samu for the first goal. Samu then had another shot which deflected off Krupi to make it 2-0, and Samu played a big part in the next goal scored by new boy Krupi again, an unbelievable strike to make it 3. In the second half, the right back Giai was slightly injured, but he managed to find Ibrahimovic, who found Samu, and he got his second goal, curling one into the top corner. Girona did fight back slightly though, and they managed to pull a goal back through Vallejo, but it was still 4-1 and there was still 25 minutes left, and Junior Krupi took a free kick and substitute Labarra scored to make it 5. A cracking start to the season for the Mallorca boys. Back to transfers though, and I've decided to make a bid for Miguel Pons at Getafe, a young striker with not a lot of pace, but he does have a good potential and great promise, and I finally got a bid accepted for him for just over £1.5 million with add-ons. My number one target from now on though is the defender that I found myself, and I got my scouts to have a look, and they backed it up. It's the Turkish centre-back Sarıkaya of Trabzonspor. I got a bid accepted because of a release clause of £13.5 million. This guy looks amazing. However, he wasn't interested in talking with me because he has just signed a new contract rather recently. Our next opponents might not have been the best in the league, but we still put on a great performance, with Nelson Viper scoring the first goal and Arian Ibrahimovic scoring our second. We weren't as clinical in the next match though against Espanyol as the game finished 2-2. Back to winning ways against Sevilla though, with the first goal being scored by Nelson Viper at the near post. And a second came thanks to the returning Dardai, who just come back from injury, and now that he's up to fitness, he's scoring goals. He also got another one in the second half in this 3-1 win, brilliantly assisted by Rafael Luiz. And that remarkably sees us go top of La Liga thanks to both Real Madrid and Barcelona drawing 2 games already. The transfer window is now closed. Miguel Pons has joined the club, 1.5 up to 1.7. He's got fantastic technicals, good mentals, but I'm worried a little bit about the physical, so I don't know whether he will ever make it into the first team, but it's so cheap that we can flip him anyway. That's not too worried about that. Angel Galan was another player for 175k. That again, fantastic mentals, but other aspects of his game needs work, but he's only 17, so there's time for that. I still have £19 million in my transfer kitty, and I've left it because I need to sign that FA Sarıkaya before he turns 20. So right now, he is refusing to sign because of that new contract in July, but if I maybe wait until October, November, before he turns 20 on the 30th of November, I can officially sign him. He won't join until January when he actually is 20, but as long as I confirm the signing before then that's happy days. He's £13.5 million. Well worth it in my opinion. He'll be a starting centre-back. We took our first loss of the season, unfortunately, in the next game against Atletico Madrid. It was an away fixture, but a 4-2 defeat. Back to gaining 3 points against Getafe at home, though. 5-2 was the victory, with Nelson Viper scoring 2 goals, a fantastic header at the back post there, and another one from a set piece after a corner quite late on. My favourite goal in this fixture, though, was the second goal that put us 2-0 up. And that was thanks to Rafael Luiz. But the build-up play was absolutely exceptional, with both centre attacking midfielders getting involved. A wonderful team goal. We continue to play outstanding football in the next match away to Villarreal in a 4-3 victory. But once again, our midfield was absolutely incredible and played Villarreal's midfield off the park. We scored some fantastic goals and had 4 different goal scorers. A 0-0 draw to end the month though wasn't too disappointing, because we were still sat in 3rd place behind Barcelona and Real Madrid, who've caught us up, and we're only 3 points behind top of the table. And as soon as we got to the 1st of October, I made a bid for FA Sarıkaya, the Turkish centre-back I mentioned earlier, and this time he was willing to join us. We offered him a fantastic contract, hopefully that he will accept straight away and we can get the deal done before he turns 20. He accepted the deal, and I think that this is the perfect bit of business to get done to help us out in our European push towards the end of the season. On the pitch though, for some reason, we keep playing Real Madrid and Barcelona in back-to-back games, and that didn't help us in the league table. And we lost both fixtures 2-1, and in the Barcelona game, I felt like we were quite unlucky. We went 1-0 up early on, but they fired back with 2 second-half goals, with the second being scored very late on from Lamine Yamal. We didn't let it affect our confidence though in the next fixture away to Levante. We absolutely dominated the game, scoring 2 fantastic goals, with Prestiani getting the first and Dardai getting the second very late on. However, those 2 losses to Barcelona and Real Madrid do see us drop down in the 6th place in the league. November was a mixed bag of fixtures, with 1 win, 1 loss and 1 draw, and that does see us drop even further into 7th place. But I still think we have a very good chance of pushing for that European spot. Nelson Viper is very much in form, with 9 goals so far in 13 fixtures in the league. He's developed that player trait of likes to beat the offside trap, and overall his development is looking really good. The bad news is that Samu has damaged his cruciate ligament and will be out for up to 7 months. That's his season over. Morlanes can fill in next to Rafael Luiz, but maybe I'll have to look in January for some extra legs in midfield. Although we have some decent enough replacements right now, I still feel like it did affect our performances on the pitch, as we began to draw games that we really should be winning. A game we did win was a 2-0 home victory against Valencia. Nelson Viper with the penalty in the 17th minute, and Bent Dardai scored in the 49th minute with a wonderfully worked goal. He also scored a 3rd crucial goal away to Athletic Bilbao in a 3-1 victory, which really put the game to bed. And I've been very happy with his performances as well as his development. After a completely unbeaten December, we slipped back up the league table just behind the top 4. More talented prospects are there for us to approach with just 6 months left in their contracts, but we're really struggling because we have little to no budget. In January, we could finally put new signing FA into the starting lineup, as he completes his move from Turkey. Another fantastic performance all round, a 5-1 win, and again we are scoring some absolutely beautiful goals, just like our first when we opened the scoring through Malambo. He's had a nice run of games recently and he's really impressed me despite the lack of development. Nelson Viper fell ill just before a big game against Celta Vigo, who are right next to us in the league. However, Junior Krupi played up front and scored within 4 minutes. And we battered them 5-1, creating a nice little gap between us and Celta Vigo in 6th place and going level on points with Real Sociedad. So I think I can finally say we're going into stage 3 of Youth to Gold. Our players are now developing, adapting well to our tactic. Now we just need to wait and get better and better and fill in the positions in behind them so that when we do have to sell them and the inevitability happens and clubs come in for our best players, we have replacements in there ready to jump in. We could also have a good run in the Cup on our hands this season as we progress through to the 3rd round of the Copa del Rey against Levante. I'm constantly getting told about how good Prestiani is developing in training, and you can definitely see that in his attributes. Another 4-1 win in the league as well as a 5-0 win in the Cup. We're having a fantastic time towards the end of January. Of course, after winning every single match that month, you kind of expect results to not go our way soon, and we fell behind to Sevilla. But thanks to a very good attack down the right-hand side, it was that man Nelson Viper who used his head once again to equalise and win man of the match. I jinxed us as well when I said we'd have a good run in the Cup because we are now out of the Copa del Rey. Back to winning ways in La Liga though, as we defeated Getafe 4-0 with 2 goals from Nelson Viper. And once again, both the goals came off his head. Honestly, you couldn't write what happened in the next match. He scored 2 more goals, again, both from headers. The man is absolutely exceptional in the air, and we just keep crossing the ball up to him, and he keeps finding the back of the net. Real Betis have clearly done their scouting on us though, because they prevented us from using that tactic and beat us 3-2 with a goal in the 95th minute. But with 2 games in hand over 4th place and on the same points, we were in prime position for finishing the top 4 this season, and Nelson Viper is currently the top scorer of La Liga with 1 more goal than Robert Lewandowski. And we played Lewandowski's side next, and we even took the lead right on the stroke of half-time through Morlanes. And yet, despite Lewandowski being taken off on the 67th minute, Barcelona still found a way to equalise quite late on, but we will definitely take the point at Camp Nou. We also beat Atletico Madrid in March thanks to 2 amazing goals, the first one being scored by our new Turkish centre-back Efe, with the second being scored on the 29th minute from Dardai, using the outside of his foot. Beating Levante in the league was great, but we unfortunately lost to Real Sociedad, who keep themselves above us in the league, although we do have a game in hand still. Kicking things off in April with a draw to Osasuna was not great preparation for our match that was coming up against Real Madrid. Before we faced them though, it was an away trip to Celta Vigo where, fortunately for us, Nelson Viper was on form to score a rare goal with his right foot. And although Celta Vigo did equalise in the second half, Dardai managed to score a winning goal and we take all 3 points. But the match against the current champions Real Madrid was such a tight game that only 1 goal separated the 2 teams, and that came from the unbelievable Prestiani, who scored for Mallorca. We followed that with another win against Alaves with 2 more goals from Nelson Viper, and that led us to crack the top 4 behind Atletico Madrid, which also guarantees Europa League football next season, with Nelson Viper scoring 25 league goals now. But this might have been where the inexperience of our young team stopped us from continuing our amazing run, because we somehow drew the remaining 4 fixtures, which seen us drop down behind Real Sociedad in the league into 5th place, 4 points behind them. But Nelson Viper, only scoring 1 more goal this season, still picked up the golden boot. Still, I think we can be really happy with that performance, and let's dive into the development of these fantastic superstars that we have had this season. Starting off with Junior Krupi. It's his first season. He's played 40 games for us, 9 goals, 6 assists, and I'm liking what I'm seeing from the development of this player. A lot of green arrows. His attributes have definitely increased. I'm going to start looking at player traits a little bit more for this man because I'm quite unsure whether I want him to stay as that shadow striker or maybe move him up, but Nelson Viper's just been way too good. Now, speaking of Nelson Viper, he of course was our top scorer. And as you can see, he just looks incredible. He's been fantastic for us. He is wanted, which does worry me. Aston Villa, Palace and Gladbach, the teams that are wanting him, don't worry me as much. I think we should be able to keep hold of him for now. But his valuation is very tasty indeed. Looking back at the age group then, Babic didn't play that much, unfortunately. And he's going to be a casualty of how good Nelson Viper played with only 2 games this whole season and no goals. So I'm a little bit disappointed that we couldn't give him more game time, but we just played so well. Prestiani was absolutely incredible with 12 assists this season. He's really come into his own. Those physicals are beautiful. I think he's going to be a star player for us, and nobody wants him right now, which does surprise me. Dardai, I might actually cash in on him. I'm a little bit unsure because, I mean, his value's a little bit low, but 12 goals, 13 assists, absolutely insane. Ibrahimovic, unfortunately, hasn't played that much. He's been kicking off about it. Still quite decent. I'm really happy with our new signing, though, coming in and doing the business. He's been solid for us since he has come in. Downward arrows, but I don't worry about that too much because already he's a good La Liga player. He's only age 20. Don't know whether he has a lot of potential in the game, but still, I quite like him. Malambo's been a bit more of a squad player this season, but he has actually developed quite well, which I'm happy with. And I think bringing other players in has definitely helped him have a bit of a rest. Speaking of a rest, Rafael Luiz deserves one. Sammy's been out injured for the majority of the second half of the season, and Rafael Luiz has carried the ship in midfield with Morlanes. Absolutely incredible player. Morgala has been great for us. A bit of an unsung hero, I must admit, because we haven't conceded that many goals this season. Our defence has been solid, and when FA came in, those two have cracked up a lovely little partnership, and he has been great for us. A lot less mistakes than what he was getting last season. Gley and that right-hand side, he's solid. Maybe I can look for a better player in the future, but for right now, he's as good enough as what we need, and he's got us into European football. Now, what I need to look at, I mean, development centre, we've only got really Miguel Pons who's in there right now. This is what the next stage is going to be, is filling out our development centre. We need better players to be coming through in the future. Right now, this is going to be our first team squad for the next couple of years because there's not a lot of options to be replacing them. In our scouting shortlist that I have got for the future prospects, as we can see, I've only got 5 players in there, but interested is only 1. Luckily, it's the goalkeeper because we are losing Rajkovic on a free transfer. He's going to be the last old player that we have in the side, and David Medina looks to be the replacement that I can bring in right now. There are not a lot of good goalkeepers who are teenagers for us to bring in. That's the most solid position to find in Youth to Gold completely. But just to give you a bit of an inkling, I mean, I was looking at this guy who's Indonesian. I found him absolutely fascinating. 2-star ability, but he's already moving to Liverpool. He never wanted to join us anyway, left back. But look how good Yannick Behrens is. Unreal player for 17. However, he doesn't want to join us, and Bayern Munich have been sniffing around him, as well as Premier League sides. And then it's the 2 Japanese players that my scouts found very early. Haven't found any others since, but that guy could be the Gley replacement at right back, should he ever wants to join us, and Kenji Sakamoto as a goalkeeper, maybe in the future, could be somebody else that we bring in.